So I'm not entirely sure how I really thought I can get away with checking email twice a day, but I was definitely optimistic at this time. Well, hey there, welcome to Mac TV. My name is Mac, and this is a space for first-time managers who are looking just to uplevel their skills as well as their confidence so that they can lead their teams to success. So I'm super excited about this video today, as I always am, but I definitely am excited about this video today because I'm going to give you a little bit of a behind-the-scenes look into how I used to schedule my time during the week. Now, a lot of you have reached out and said, hey, Mac, like, how did you used to get things done, especially since it's so nutty, particularly as a new manager? And like I've mentioned in the past before, I actually kept a lot of my calendars. I actually have no idea why. Maybe it's because I love the cute quotes that were in the calendars. But anyways, I kept it. But I'm really glad I did that because now that gives me an opportunity to give you an inside look as to how I used to do things. Now, of course, for privacy reasons, I won't be able to show you everything in the calendar. So I've actually blocked off some names as well as like company information just to protect obviously the company and my team members. But I'm going to show you pretty much everything else. And I've actually already picked one week that was a little bit light in nature and where my handwriting wasn't so terrible so that you can actually see what I'm doing, okay? So like I said, I'm just going to give you a little bit of behind the scenes of one week and basically how I used to plan it. All right, so let's get started on this. Okay, so first things first, I actually used to spend a little bit of time Sunday night actually planning for my week. Now, yes, I know I was using my personal time to do this, but I felt like I needed to do this in order for me to be truly effective during the week. Now, I don't necessarily recommend this for everyone, right? You can do it Monday morning or even Friday afternoon for the following week if you like. So long as you're actually taking the time to plan out your week rather than waiting for the week to pull you along. Because when you do that, what you're actually doing is reacting to everybody's panic or everyone's issue rather than strategically spending the time that you need to move the team forward and focusing on the systems and the processes and the development and the training and all that great stuff in order to help your team be successful. So again, you don't have to do it on a Sunday night like I used to. You could do it Monday or Friday afternoon, right? As long as you're spending some time apart from all the day-to-day things that you're doing, spent in actually planning for the following week. As long as you do that, you're pretty good. Okay, so I'm going to jump to the computer now and kind of give you an overview of what things kind of look like for me, okay? So like I said, Sunday night, I would grab my calendar and then block off the staples or basically the non-negotiable stuff. So for me, that was my one-on-one meetings with my team members. As you can see, the level 10 meetings with the executive team and senior management team. We had team huddles as a company, so that was something mandatory we had to go to, so I would block that off. Then, my own team meetings with my department and then meetings with my own leadership team, right? So these were things that were staples in my week. So I would start with blocking off the time for that. So each of these items were blocked off in my calendar by time. So as you can see here, this week from 2 to 5 on Wednesday, I was going to be doing 3 one-on-ones, and on the same day I had a level 10 from 10 to 11 a.m. So nothing else theoretically would interrupt me during that time. Right? That's why I blocked it off there. Okay, so once I blocked off all my non-negotiables for the week in my calendar, what I would do is pick my top 3 rocks for the week. Okay. Now, yes, rocks are an EOS term. That's basically SMART goals that you need to get done within 90 days. So yes, it's for a quarterly basis, but I actually titled my weekly priorities my rocks. I don't know. It's just what I did. In case you're wondering, why is this girl using the term rocks for her weekly priorities? It's because I just do what makes sense to me. So you should do the same thing too. Make sense, do whatever makes sense to you. So getting back to what I was saying here, I would jot down my 3 rocks or my 3 important goals that I needed to accomplish for the week to be successful. And that's why, as you can see, I have my little animation on the calendar here. It's like a circle. It looks like a circle, but in my head, it was a rock. So you might be asking, where are you getting these rocks from and how do you determine what gets to be the rock for the week? So here's what I did. I actually followed my PPIP method to time management and prioritization, which is basically a process that I used and developed to help me make sure that I was managing my time effectively, as well as prioritizing the most important things that I had to do. So what I would do is every beginning of the month, actually every end of the month, I would run everything I had to do through this PPIP method and then house everything that I ran through the method in a Trello board. And so what would happen is every Sunday when I was planning out my week, I would open up my Trello board and look at the things that I had run through the process and decide at that point what should be the top 3 rocks or priorities that I should be working on for the week. Okay, but I was always pulling from a dashboard basically where I had already determined what the most important things were based on, meetings, recommendations, feedback, thoughts, etc. I would pull it from there and make sure that I was constantly working in a strategic manner, right? So that's basically how I got my top 3 priorities. And I actually teach my students how to do this in the New Manager Accelerator program, right? Because this is really important. You need to know what's important to work on. Okay, so after I would set up my 3 big goals, I would block off time in my calendar to work on those things, because knowing I need to do something and then making time for it and not making time for it would obviously get me nowhere, right? So I would definitely make sure that I'm blocking off time to get those things done. So I would basically estimate how long I thought those top 3 priorities would take me. And then I would calendar block the time so that I would not be interrupted or tempted to do something different during that time, right? Because again, I chose those 3 things for a reason. And the reason was because I knew it was going to make us successful as a team. So I had to spend time focusing on it. So after calendar blocking time for those rocks, the next step would be to calendar block time for my smaller tasks, which again was pulled from my Trello board. And sometimes my notebook too, that I carried around with me, in meetings or whatnot. So I would pull all that. I also scheduled time for checking email, as you can see here. So I'm looking at this now and I'm kind of laughing because I remember what caused this was I was listening to a talk by Tony Hsieh, and he said that he used to check his email once a day in the morning so that he wouldn't be constantly interrupted during the day with emails. And so I thought, well, if Tony Hsieh could do it, I can do it too. I don't know what I was thinking. No, that did not work for me. So eventually I actually upped it to twice a day. And then I think by the time I left, I was checking it 3 times a day. So I think it's really important for you to find your own sweet spot of how often you want to check your email, as long as you're not checking it throughout the day or you don't have it popping up, at every point in the day, because that is super distracting. And then you just become a slave to your email, and that's absolutely no fun. And you don't get things done. So I definitely do suggest you figure out what the times are that you're going to check your email and make sure that you stick to that. Okay, so lastly, as you can see here, I scheduled thinking time, which I've talked about in the past and earlier on in this video. So thinking time is actually a concept that I stole from a book called The Road Less Stupid, which I talk about on this channel all the time. But it's a book by Keith Cunningham, and he suggests that it's really important to spend some time just thinking, to stop and actually think about what you do. And that way, what you can do is actually determine if the things that you're doing make sense, if you can find the right questions to be asking yourself in terms of, whether or not what you and the team are doing on what the team and you are doing actually makes sense, right? So it allows you to basically spark smart thinking and think more proactively than reactively in nature. And so that's what I really like about thinking time. I highly suggest scheduling out, even if it's 10 to 15 minutes every week, just to reflect on your week and think about what went well, what didn't go well, what can be improved upon, and use it even to just identify different problems that were on the team and how you can fix it maybe the following week or the following quarter, whatever you decide to do. As long as you're using that beautiful noggin of yours to think through solutions and then, of course, execute and make it happen. And that's pretty much it in terms of how I used to plan my week. I really relied on, as you can see, calendar blocking and time batching and pre-planning. And as the years went on, my calendar looked a lot better at this, I'll be honest with you. And it was definitely more organized than this. But I did have to start somewhere, right? And I followed a similar process as well when it came to organizing like projects for the team. I started with basically the end in mind in terms of what needed to be accomplished and then working backwards from there, which I actually did a video on that not too long ago on project planning, like the very basics of project planning for a manager, which I will link for you somewhere around here. And then you can just check that out. So if you want to dive deeper though into my PPIP method that I talked about in terms of how I was able to determine what the top 3 priorities were for the month, and then of course distill that down into the week, then I highly suggest you check out the details for my new Manager Accelerator program, because that is where I do a deep dive on that for my students. All right, so that's pretty much it for this week's video. I hope that you enjoyed it. I know it was a little bit different than usual, but I thought, hey, we got to change things up a little bit on the channel, right? Just to keep things a little bit interesting. All right, so like I said, I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to give it a thumbs up if you liked it and to subscribe so you don't miss out on any other fun videos I share on this channel every single Tuesday. All right, I'll see you next week.